So I got to ask, China has been very clear about its intention to invade and reunify Taiwan.
Unify, don't use there.
Oh, yeah, unify. Well, anyways, why, if that's the case, why is the Taiwanese military lacking so much? Why aren't they putting more effort into creating a strong fighting force? Why are the soldiers treated so poorly?
Yeah, I think it's in some ways human nature that you just can't bring yourself to do what you should do. There's not many votes to be gained if you're a politician from making your thing, the need to improve Taiwan's military, to treat its service people well, to make it a respected profession. They don't see that as something that is going to get them reelected. But social spending, that'll get you things. So it's kind of like you don't want to eat the vegetables, but you want to eat the eclairs, and you want to pass eclairs around. Nobody's going to, you could hand out Brussels sprouts and broccoli on the street, and nobody's not going to get many takers, but pass out eclairs that somebody else is paying for. And you're going to get support for that. And it's a little glib, but as I say, defense is not something that politicians see as something they need to, that they're going to make a name for themselves. There are some who do and realize that there is a need to improve things, or else. And as I noted, for a number of years, there was a sense that Taiwan had the advantage. Defense wasn't really something to worry about, and that somehow a deal would be cut with China. China wasn't going to do much, and it really couldn't even if it wanted to, but that balance really has changed in the other direction. And people haven't responded to it as quickly as they can, as they should have. The Americans haven't really helped, in my opinion. Because as I mentioned, we really won't deal with the Taiwanese military. But Americans do come and visit, and they may send little training teams, but that really doesn't amount to much.
Well, why can't we do joint military exercises with Taiwan?
China would get angry.
Okay, but why can't we do it?
Because China would get angry. Don't you reckon? No, I'm not being funny, because that's about the argument. And if we do, who knows what, Taiwan might attack China. Now, you've heard just about every dumb explanation for why not to do this, but it was ultimately, though, the thinking was for a long time and still is that it's too provocative. And you think of all the other things we don't do, have not done against China, that we've allowed China to get away with because it's provocative. Well, you see that when it comes to the U.S. military's dealings with the Taiwan military. This is despite the fact that since at least 2016 or 17, the U.S. National Defense Authorization Act that Congress passes has called for doing joint training with the Taiwan military. But as I heard it described by a sort of a Washington insider who was visiting Taiwan of all places, he pointed out to the Taiwanese audience that, well, that's just a sense of Congress. The State Department, Department of Defense, the White House, they don't have to do anything if they don't want to, because you don't understand. It's just a sense of Congress, I suppose. But that is the thinking. And there's different ways to go about this. Is that it doesn't mean send the 1st Marine Division to Taiwan to do large-scale exercises. One approach that some of the people have been pushing for a long time is to use HADR, Humanitarian Assistance Disaster Relief, as your focus, and to have the Taiwanese Navy and Marine Amphibious Force cooperate with the American amphibious forces, go to Guam and train for HADR, set up a headquarters in Taiwan, in fact, where Americans and Taiwan military and civilians could plan disaster relief operations for Taiwan in the region where they happen all the time, do the training and the planning necessary for that, go out and practice it, and when they actually happen, go do it. Now, only the most churlish people would complain about militaries that go out to save lives. I think no shortage of churlish people, but it's one example of how you can actually bring Taiwan out of their isolation. And think of the psychological effect this would have on the Taiwan military, beyond the improved operational capabilities on both sides. But it would, knowing that you have some friends often makes a big difference. Think of how that would affect the Taiwan public writ large, this realization that somebody actually gives two hoots about them. So those would be some of the benefits of it. That's one way to go about it. But otherwise, the way it is, if you're not going to actually train with your best, with your friends, I've used this expression, comparison. It's like, say you've got a girlfriend and you tell her, no, I love you, baby. You're the tops. But do you mind if you don't see me in public? And if you see me, just pretend you don't know me.
I use that line all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. You have to hard to pull off successfully. And then you tell her, but I really love you. But there's this other gal, this other dame. And she's scary, but she gives me a lot of money. But she scares me. I don't want to get her mad. And if she sees you with me, she might take a swing at you. But I tell you, baby, I love you. Swear to God. Your girlfriend is not going to be all that convinced that you're that serious. And that's what we've sort of been trying to do with the Taiwanese, is tell them, we've got your back. Don't worry. But you don't mind if we don't actually come and play baseball with you, do you? Because somebody might get mad. No, I've talked about the military angle, which is part of it, but there's also the economic part too, is as important. And because Taiwan's economy, it sort of languished for about 20 years, and it's picking up a bit now. But we should also look at the economic part of this as a necessary sort of support to Taiwan. Figure out what it is we can do to get the Taiwanese economy to hum. And make those concessions, give them the advantages that you need. And don't get hung up on the fact that we can't import American beef or pork or whatever. Or that we've gotten hung up on some issues that miss the bigger picture. So the economic angle is one that you also have to pay attention to. And also just the political support, when the Solomon Islands and Kiribati in the Pacific, when they switched over to China in 2019, that tells you that somebody in America, in Australia or New Zealand didn't do their jobs. But so it's this broader political support and do what's necessary to break Taiwan out of its isolation, not just military, but get it into international organizations. And if that girl across the strait doesn't like it, well, okay. Then People's Bank of China, because you've been doing business with North Korea, you can no longer deal in US dollars. Take your pick. But you're going to have to apply pressure if you're going to help help Taiwan sort of get out of this stranglehold that the Chinese are trying to put over it.
Grant, you have some great analogies, I have to say.
That's definitely true.
Yeah. The two things that you mentioned, the economic support and the military support, are when we were in Taiwan last January and talking to legislators, Taiwanese people, those were the two big things that they said they wanted from the U.S. is greater cooperation on those two fronts. And when you mentioned the humanitarian assistance training, we do that training with the PLA. So, why can't we do it with the Taiwan military?
Yeah, we should do it, and then when the Chinese Communist Party complains, we just gaslight them. Like, no, it has nothing to do with the military. It's just humanitarian assistance. And what can they say?
Well, they will, of course, complain, but at some point you got to just say no, and if you don't like it, we're waiting. But at some point, but if you keep expecting that the other side to suddenly behave nicely, it's never going to happen in this case.